Industrial diesel prices have been sharply hiked, with rates revised from 87 rupees 67 paise to 109 rupees 59 paise per litre. The steep increase is likely to impact sectors heavily dependent on diesel, including manufacturing and transport. The move comes at a time of rising energy concerns, with its broader impact on inflation being closely watched. All right, major breaking news coming in there as far as industrial diesel is concerned. The prices have now been hiked sharply, revised upward from 87 rupees 67 paise to 109 rupees and 59 paise per litre. The increase is sharp, and its impact on diesel-dependent sectors, including manufacturing and transport, will be felt very shortly. This comes, remember, amid rising energy concerns as vessels continue to be blocked in Strait of Hormuz, will have a direct impact on India's inflation, which is being closely watched. I will be joined very shortly by my colleague Kartik Malhotra, but for now, industrial diesel prices have also been hiked. Now, remember, the news is coming just hours after we broke it here for you on News9 that premium petrol and diesel prices have also been hiked by 2 rupees to 2 rupees 30 paise, depending on whichever city you are in India. Now, hours after that, we now know industrial diesel prices have also been sharply hiked. And it's all linked to the choke point that India and the rest of the globe is currently witnessing as far as crude oil vessels which are still stranded near Strait of Hormuz. Direct impact being felt here in India. Industrial diesel prices have now been sharply hiked. The latest revision comes as diesel prices, which were earlier 87 rupees 67 paise, have now been hiked to 109 rupees. That's a whopping hike of at least 20 rupees per litre. The steep increase is likely to impact India's manufacturing sector, its transport. And the move comes at a time when energy prices are soaring throughout the globe, with broader impact now likely to be felt as far as India's inflation is concerned. My colleague Kartik Malhotra joining us with more details. Kartik, barely hours after we heard premium petrol and diesel prices have been hiked, we now know industrial diesel prices have also been hiked. This is likely to impact India's manufacturing sector as well as other sectors which are hugely dependent on diesel.
Without doubt, Shweta, I think, this is pretty much the news which was to break, and this was the fear which everybody had in the early days of the war. But there was the assurance which had come from the government of India that the hike in crude oil prices globally is not going to be passed on to petrol pumps and consumers of petrol and diesel. But unfortunately, I think the government has pretty much run out of any other options at the moment, and hence we are seeing the kind of hike and massive hikes at that. In fact, the premium petrol hike is still something which is more palatable, but the fact that diesel has been hiked to as much as about 22 rupees a litre is something which is going to not just pinch, it's actually going to hurt, and in some cases perhaps even go on and bleed our overall inflation numbers and growth projections. This is absolutely bad news, and I think not unexpected. It was to happen. It was a matter of time. I think the government and the OMCs were both sort of waiting and watching, hoping that the war would indeed be a short-lived one. In fact, early estimates of the war breaking out over Iran suggested that this war would be over in a few days first and then a few weeks. But we are already now on pretty much the fourth week. The third week ends tonight. It was a Saturday morning India time when the war had broken out on the 28th of February. Tomorrow is going to be the completion of those 3 weeks, and we will be entering the fourth week. I think that is all the kind of buffers that we had as far as containing that fuel price hike was concerned, and I don't think anybody, the OMCs or the government, are in a position to not pass that on. And this is obviously something which is going to hurt everything, because diesel energy prices are absolutely central to everything that we consume, everything that we buy. Anything that gets transported from one part of the country to another is dependent on diesel, and this is going to be imported inflation that India will have to take on its chin, pretty much like the rest of the world.
Right, and this is to make it clear to our viewers that we are talking about industrial diesel. Industrial diesel is not available to retail customers, but it is an essential component as far as mining is concerned. It's important in manufacturing, will likely have an impact on India's manufacturing system, and as a result, inflation could also go up.
Absolutely.
Many goods going forward could become more expensive.
You're right. I mean, this is one of the key inputs, right? Input cost goes up, and then the factory industry output comes out more expensive. So there's no doubt about it that inflation is the next number to really watch out for. And it's not going to be pretty. And of course, you can look at core inflation and you can say, hey, core inflation is still on track because it sort of strips off energy prices and food prices. But unfortunately, in this instance, it will not be core inflation that will be looked at. We will have to look at headline inflation, and headline inflation is going to be a casualty if crude oil prices continue to stay elevated.
Absolutely. In fact, industrial diesel that will feed into industries would essentially mean that output would be more expensive going forward, would feed into inflation in months to come. But on the back of that news, we also know now premium petrol prices have been hiked by 2 rupees to 2.3 rupees per litre by oil marketing companies, driven again by geopolitical tensions in the Middle East impacting global fuel markets. The revised rates come into effect today, as of this morning. As per dealers, branded fuels such as HPCL's Power Petrol and IOCL's XP95 have seen an increase in prices. Premium petrol is usually used for better engine performance and higher mileage. However, regular petrol prices remain unchanged. All right, that's back-to-back impact there with the cost of higher crude being passed on to industries at this point. Premium petrol prices have also been hiked. The news broke a couple of hours ago with premium petrol prices, which is better as far as engine efficiency is concerned. We now know their prices have been hiked by at least 2 rupees to 2.3 rupees per litre as of this morning, and largely driven by, of course, what's happening worldwide as far as crude oil is concerned. The revised rates in India will come into effect from today. However, in all of this, it's still important to point out the government maintains that retail price of petrol and diesel still remains same.